Brooke Smith here. I played Catherine Martin in Silence of the Lambs and Bates Motel as well, which I also really liked. I wish that one could have continued. And the most important advice that I think I can give you, just don't go out there. Okay? I'll say it again. Just don't go out there.
They've conquered the big screen. Now, get ready for the spin-off sure to send chills down your spine. It's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin in Don't Go Out There, the series.
Welcome back, everybody, to DGOT, the series. We really appreciate y'all listening. We hope y'all have been enjoying these series reviews. I know we have. It's been a lot of fun. Just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgooutthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on the website. All of our episodes and interviews, if you want to check those out. We've done some incredible interviews in the past. Go check them out there in a specific tab by themselves so you don't have to scroll through hundreds of episodes on Apple or Spotify, etc. We also have our store if you want to grab a shirt, a mouse pad, a hat, all that good stuff. We'd love to see your pictures, rep your favorite podcast. And Shan's Etsy page is also attached if you want to grab a tumbler. All of our social media links are on there as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. And the last thing I want to shout out on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. If you want to support us, help us pay the bills, as we say. Or if there's a movie you want us to review, that option is available as well. Just check out our website, don'tgooutthere.com. Also, if you haven't noticed, we've recently joined the Believe Network, so there's some ads on our program now. But if you want ad-free content, go check us out on Blood Donors. The ad-free episodes will be available there. We appreciate your support. We're continuing on with Season 1 of Bates Motel, Brother Mike's choice. Mike, you want to give us your general thoughts on Episodes 7 and 8?
Sure. I think it's a mixed bag, and I've been, pretty much positive, Pete. I think there's a lot of good stuff here. But occasionally these two episodes feel bloated to me. Now, more so in episode 8. I feel like there's a lot of filler. Maybe it's just because I'm not super interested in the Dylan side job storyline. But there is a lot of good in episode 8, for sure, especially the end. We get a new character. Like I mentioned last week, that sex trafficking storyline is very far from being over. So there's a lot of meat on the bone there for that story. I would say episode 7 falls flat only because they walk right up to the line of giving us Norman Bates from Psycho. And then they kind of pull it back. And I thought that landed a little flat for me, but there's still a lot of good. I still like the Norma dynamic, even though it makes me super uncomfortable, especially with the Bradley stuff. It's weird, and they're definitely laying some groundwork for how that relationship evolves. And we get Romero kind of becoming a little bit of a central figure starting in episode 7. So again, some good, some bad, probably after watching on to episode 9 and 10 after this, probably 2 of my least favorite episodes in the season, because 9 and 10 I'm a really big fan of, and I'm a big fan of the last 2 episodes as well.
All right, I'll go next. I thought both episodes were fine. It was more of the same, but I was fine with what we watched. Like, I enjoyed it. I'm liking the Dylan story expanding. I like Norman and Norma learning more about his character. Just him being like a high schooler. Like, I don't mind this. I don't mind this at all. I think Freddie is just getting better and better. Mike, I liked both episodes. I'll just say it.
Yeah,
and I watched.
Well,
I watched
so do
I watched 9 and 10 as well. I finished it, and I thought those episodes were great as well.
Yeah, 9 and 10 are great. I agree with you there.
Well, I hope so. Because I know at the start of this, I called this a CW show. I compared it to Riverdale. And yeah, I should have probably verbally given the show some credit, because after the first episode or so, it kind of got away from that some. And I think I may have mentioned quickly, I don't remember. And I also said last week that this season should have ended with episode 6. After watching 7 and 8, I stand by that even more. I hated episode 7. It was my least favorite of the season thus far. And I brought up the CW thing again because I feel like we got back to that again, especially in episode 7. Episode 8 got things a little bit straightened out on the right track a little bit towards the end, but I hated episode 7. I'm just very uninterested right now and ready for the season to be over, if I'm being honest.
Retweet. In regards to these characters and the stories that they're trying to tell, allow me to quote the great prophet Stephen A. Smith. I'm here to tell you right now, I don't care. They're not doing anything to hold my attention. I thought 7, for all the good, like last episode, I said that, I was going to rate these. I think it was last episode I said I was going to rate these, like, be true to myself again, like, not give it credit because of how well it's made. Like, do I actually think it's a good show? And so I was more realistic with my ratings. And then episode 6 happened, and I gave it a decent score. I gave it a 7. For all the good that episode 6 did, I felt like 7 and 8 wiped it all away. Like, that just too bogged down in details that I didn't ask for, don't care about, and they're not really doing anything to make me care. And I agree with what you said, Brian. Like, it really feels like a CW teen drama show. And I'm not the target demographic for that. And I don't think I'm the target demographic for this show either, unfortunately.
That's fine. Dustin, you got the scene by scene, I believe, for episode 7, whenever you want to kick us off.
Yes, sir. So episode 7, The Man in number 9. We open with a recap that's totally not filler. Then we see a police SUV rush into the motel with lights and siren blaring. It's Romero. He cautiously approaches Dylan, who hands him the gun without a word spoken. Romero rolls Shelby's body over and tells Dylan they better talk. We cut to the Bates' living room, where Norma tells Romero that's the whole story. He tells her he suspected Shelby a while back. Shelby and Keith had a disagreement. Shelby killed Keith, and Romero was closing in on it. Romero killed Shelby, and Dylan's gunshot wound is from him getting in the way. This Romero might be all right after all. Dylan doesn't seem pleased that he's not getting any credit for saving them, but Norma and Norman are relieved. After the title card, we see Norman and Bradley having a romp in the sheets, and Norma comes in to interrupt. It was all a dream. He used to read Word Up magazine. Norma tells Norman they open in 7 days while he adjusts his morning wood, and she stresses the importance of being ready for the open. While Norman is fixing the lattice under the porch, he finds a dog. He tosses it some food and says he won't hurt it. But the hammer in his hand kind of paints the picture that he might. But the dog runs away safely, and Norma cooks Dylan breakfast to thank him for helping. He tells her he's still moving out, and she's shocked, and that turns to anger. She storms off when he offers to help with the trash. When he takes it out, a man in a car pulls up and asks about the motel and where he can find Keith. Dylan tells him Keith is dead, and the man drives away. At school, Norman sees Bradley. He tries to say hey, but she blows him off, and then he asks if he'll see her later. That's the open. What do you guys think?
I mean, he really was fixing his morning wood. That was out of control. I kind of touched on this at the end of last episode, but it's kind of hilarious to me that after a 911 call like that, only one cop shows up. And while I appreciate the sheriff kind of brushing this all under the rug per se, it's a small town cop. I mean, that makes sense. But after everything, it's just so unbelievable in my opinion. A call went over dispatch. It's not like Norma called the sheriff up on his personal cell phone. None of this to me makes any real world sense. I mean, we have a dead cop. We have Dylan walking up to the sheriff with a gun in his hand, and we have an ongoing investigation into Norma. She just sits there and then admits to murdering Summers. I mean, yeah, she says it was self-defense. We know that because we saw that. But she covered it up. He wasn't there. I mean, there was an open investigation on this, and, I mean, on top of all that, we have Dylan over here just only giving a shit about credit. But then it's like, title card. Okay, that's done. Because on to season 2, right? Because at the beginning of this is exactly what I said. Everyone just says, verbally, we need to put all that Shelby stuff behind us. Fresh start. And, I mean, to me, it really, it feels like it. I mean, I know we're continuing on with that sex trafficking plot, but still, to me, it still feels like season 2. And like I said, I know he pops up later, and I still stand behind this could have been a different season. It just feels like it. But Norman wakes up and checks his phone on the side of the bed. No charging cable, by the way. Must be brand new, because no way he has any battery left. Just saying. That thing stayed on that thing all night long? No way. But I do like how the show doesn't let you know if Norman's going to kill this dog or be nice, kind of what Dustin brought up. Not much else on the set of scenes, though.
first of all, just want to start with shout out to the recap because we are watching weekly episodic television where it is a requirement to figure out what happened the week before in case you missed an episode. They've been doing it for 65 years. Weekly recaps are totally fine. Now, if you're watching it in a replay, I get how it's annoying, but the fact that they're there makes total sense. And I'm going to say shout out to the recap every single episode we do of this show. Anyway, I did find it odd that this is the first time we see Romero in 3 episodes. Now, again, like I mentioned back then, he does become a very prominent character, and this is kind of the start of that. We start to get this dynamic between him and Norma in this episode. I understand the confusion about him sweeping it under the rug, and is it realistic? I mean, yeah, maybe not. But I mean, I don't know. I just don't need the most realistic realism from a television show. Like it's a show. It's not a documentary. Like Stranger Than Fiction happens all the time in real life. So like this would happen. I mean, I just finished watching You, where Joe Goldberg gets away with everything for 7 years. And so Norman Bates getting away with this for a
wow,
dude.
Good
Come
thing.
on.
Wow.
Are you kidding?
Just ruined 7 seasons. Oh wow, I'm not watching it now. Forget it.
Well, first of all, it's only 5 seasons, but thanks, COVID. But anyway, Norman Bates getting away with this stuff is totally fine. Like the whole family, it's building to something. So we're watching it in its early infancy. We're not going to get answers right away for everything, and no one's going to pay for all the crimes they committed. But anyway, I do like that we're still leaving, some things unanswered, at least so far. Like why is Romero protecting, quote unquote, Norma? I think it's obviously because he didn't want Zach Shelby's record on his name, right? He didn't want to be involved in all that, so just kind of sweep it under the rug. I understand that. Norman's still being on this Bradley thing. Dog, she's ignoring you, big dog. You got to let it go. Got to let it go. I mean, even in your – look, if you want to keep it in your dreams, that's fine. What I will say is, hey, Mom, don't sit next to me when I got my morning wood. That's fucking weird. And I don't care what Norma says. You know damn well she saw that shit, and she sat down next to his ass any fucking way. Now, I don't care because she's fucking weird, and I got more on that in the next set of scenes, I think. But again, just now I will say, and both of you already touched on this, they did make me believe for a second, because I kind of forgot what happens to the dog, that we were going to go down a Jeffrey Dahmer route where we're just going to or every other serial killer ever for 60 years, where we're going to start out by killing innocent animals, and then we're going to, make that into human beings. But they didn't go down that route, and I kind of like that because that's subverting expectations. I do say Norma being very ungrateful for Dylan in this scene. I mean, let's be honest, her and Norman would be dead without Dylan. I mean, unless, he fucking put his life on the line. God damn it. Dylan is one of my favorite characters. We get introduced to a new character, which, by the way, I keep forgetting to write down the man's name, so my apologies. But no spoilers, but fuck this guy. That's all I'm going to say. Also, I did notice that he kind of – I'm not going to say that. I feel like that's going to get us canceled. Not going to say what this guy looks like. So go ahead, Nico. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad you gave me a second. Nestor Carbonell is who plays Sheriff Romero, and I thought he did a great job acting out this scene, checking out the crime scene, dealing with the Bates family, and finding Shelby's body. I think he's underrating the show so far. I think he's doing a good job. I love Norma's little smirk as Romero broke down the story of what they're going to tell the town. Dylan, like y'all have mentioned, shut the hell up and just let the sheriff cook. You're getting out of this with no repercussions. You don't need credit right now. Just be quiet, man. I laughed at Norman and with him waking up, having to hide his morning wood, his wet dream wood. I thought that was funny. The man woke up and chose violence, though, with his mom giving her shit about no reservations at the motel yet. He's, don't fuck with your mom about that. You can tell she's sensitive. I can relate to this dog. I get ornery, too, when I'm hungry and cooped up. I felt that. Norma, she has attachment issues for sure, and I love how she snaps, between her feelings when she gets angered. I think Vera does such a good job with that in this show. Friends doing book reports for each other. I could have used one of them in high school. And, we always say support cinema. The Odyssey is what he wrote his book report on. Shout out to Christopher Nolan. I know all of us, I'm sure, will be seated next year when that movie releases. I thought it was a good opening, taking us to our next story for the Bates family.
Norma walks into a restaurant and asks for a manager. She wants to put brochures in the lobby, but the manager's not interested. The manager says everyone knows what happened and the motel is tainted. Back at the motel, she looks at her computer full of empty rooms, and when she goes to head out, she sees the man who Dylan talked to earlier trying to get into one of the rooms. She approaches him, and he says he has a standing reservation for every other month. She gets him a new room key, and he enters the room. Later, Dylan pulls up in his gas-powered F-350. I'm not sure why you would get a gas-powered F-350. Diesel's the way to go there. I mean, it's much more power. Anyway, Norma tells him about the guy with the standing reservation and says that she'll get his info in the morning. But Dylan says he'll get it now. The guy named Jake Abernathy is hesitant, but gives Dylan his ID and says he's in sales. He's being real sketchy, and when Dylan says he needs a credit card, the man gives him cash instead and closes the door. Dylan tells Norma about the encounter while she's trying to scrub Shelby's blood off the steps. The next day, Norman and Dylan are at the hardware store when Bradley pulls up. She says she's picking up some food and tells Bradley he works with the same guy her dad worked for. After some awkwardness, they go their separate ways. Later that night, Norma is in bed when she hears a noise and goes to investigate. She sees some cabinets open underneath the sink, and then the wind slams the door shut multiple times. She grabs a knife and goes outside, but we cut to a commercial break, and when we pick back up, it's daylight again, and Emma arrives at the front door, where a plate of food is sitting on the doorstep. Emma asks Norma if they got a dog, and Norma says not she knows of, and Norma goes to get Norman. Norman says he's not in the mood and to make something up to get rid of her. Norma scolds Norman for leaving food out and tells Emma that Norman isn't feeling well. Emma starts to cry, so Norma invites Emma to town and offers to buy her lunch, and the next set of scenes is the ending.
I mean, not to harp on it a little bit, but it's kind of funny because it's kind of starting to feel like Desperate Housewives-y kind of a little bit, and that was what I was thinking, and it's kind of turned out to be even funnier because I was thinking that when Norma was at the restaurant delivering the brochures, but then Jerry Burns shows up playing Jake Abernathy, or, you know, the man in number 9, and I'm pretty sure the first thing I ever saw him in was Desperate Housewives. Burns is great, though. Been around forever. At this point, I haven't even watched episode 8 yet, so I'm kind of wondering if this dude at this point is going to end up being one of Keith and Shelby's customers. And I mean, after all of that, it makes sense. I'm honestly not sure why any of the Bates family is not bringing this up. Is it even like a remote possibility? I mean, even if it's not. And again, I've not watched ahead at the time of me taking these notes, but it just didn't make any sense how they weren't even trying to at least question that. The rest of this just doesn't necessarily interest me. I'm not the least bit interested in Norman's very unbelievable love triangle with these two girls, and that's pretty much the rest of this set of scenes.
So my only issue with what Norma's doing here, she's trying to take brochures into town to advertise a hotel where you don't have like conference rooms or anything, trying to get people to book your hotel in the town that you live in? Question mark. Like, is it for visitors to the town? I mean, they come in the restaurant, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how well that would work. I will say, I understand where you said about the diesel stuff there, Dustin, but one, diesel's expensive as a motherfucker. But also, I do wish I had that truck, though. That's a nice-ass truck. I'd take that in a fucking heartbeat. That's a good truck. You know, Jake Abernathy here, just gives me the creeps, man. He's a weird motherfucker. And I like that he always says sales. Yeah, human sales, you piece of shit. Anyway, he plays such a good fucking bad guy here. I think it's a good character. He's just a fuck that guy. He ends up being the dog shit. Anyway, my man pulled out straight cash like he's Brian Hathaway walking around strapped like that, man. I know that's how much money he walks around with, so I understand, you know, why you don't have many notes on that set of scenes, because you can relate. You know, you don't need it. You just got all that cash money. I understand. Money, 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 money. Yeah, that's you, buddy. Hey, I thought you were going to do, here comes the money. Here we go. Money talks. Here comes the money. Money, money, money. Oh, shout out to Shane O'Mac, baby. Anyway, who gave AJ Styles his best WrestleMania match. But anyway, fun fact here, Dylan. You can get blood out of a stone. That's not true, what you just said. I've used many a pressure washer to get blood out of a stone. Don't ask me what the blood was from. That's not that important. Just know that I've done that. So maybe if you meant with a scrubber, maybe. I still think you can, but whatever. Anyway.
I thought I was going to need a pressure washer for what you did to my front porch.
Well, you didn't. I didn't even get anything on your front porch, asshole. I got it all over me. I wish it was on your front porch instead of me. Trust me. That would have been a lot better of a night for me.
Oh,
What
my
is
God.
happening? What is happening?
Anywho, this.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, man, I can't help what Dustin says. I have to retaliate. Got to stand up for myself. This town is too damn small, man. Bradley already knowing who Dylan is. Interesting. Who he works for. That's not what I want. Here goes Norman. Instead of talking to her like a man, sends her away. Said, your food's going to get cold. All right, bye. You dumbass. We thought he had drip. Man has no drip. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, man. I love when she says, yeah, I have stuff going on. Yeah, I bet you do. Look, to the outside eye, though, just purely objectively, Norman kind of looks like he took advantage of a sad girl in a vulnerable state and used her dad dying to hook up with her. If you didn't know the details like we do, that's how that looks from the outside. I'm just saying. I actually really so I wanted to touch on this, and this is all I have. I love this scene with Norma in the kitchen. It's, just from a horror traditional movie standpoint, this is probably the closest thing we've had so far to that original Psycho feel. It's shot really dark. The music isn't Psycho music, obviously, but like the way they shoot it through the moonlight coming in or the street light coming in through the window, I think it's really, really well done. It captures that mood and atmosphere that I look for. So I thought that was a well done scene. Last thing, poor Emma. She's a true ride or die Jackie Kennedy, man. And maybe she could have saved Norman Bates. We wouldn't even have had the original Psycho. But no, had to be into the hot chick Bradley.
Poor Norma, getting a taste of that small town drama. I know it's got to be frustrating to her business wise, considering the story that the sheriff is telling doesn't really involve you, but that's just how small towns are. You're just guilty in everyone's eyes. I like that Dylan is so initiative when it comes to weird and sketchy people calling out Jake. And like you mentioned, Mike, he does give off creepy vibes, like just the way he looks. Dylan is on to him already, and Jake is ticked being asked for basic information like his credit card and ID and all that. I laughed at Dylan telling Norma again, you can't get blood out of stone and tossing the money into her cleaning area. Man has no patience for things he finds dumb, and I can respect that. This is awkward with Bradley and the brothers. Norman needs to take a hint. You were just dick for that night, and that's it. She did give Dylan an interesting look back. I wondered if she wants him now or if she just knows more about him and his dad and the work they do. I don't know. Norma, I'd be tossing and turning, unable to sleep too if I had all them clothes on. I just have no idea how people sleep with, sleeping pants and a T-shirt on. I just got sweaty looking at that. And goddamn, Norman, maybe it's nicer not to lead someone on. That was mean as hell to say to poor Emma. She can't catch a break. And I got sad seeing her teary eyes. Emma's just a good young lady. But I did think it was very sweet of Norma to offer to take her to lunch, try and pick her spirits up. I thought the set of scenes was fine too.
Yeah, Brian, you mentioned Burns. He just has that look. He has a great look for a villain. And interesting fact about him, if you look at his IMDb page, he's been in two of my favorite shows ever. He was in an episode of Suits, but then he was also had a recurring role in Breaking Bad. Two great shows. But the number one thing listed on his IMDb is an abortion of a movie. Just god-awful. The third Crocodile Dundee. Why is that the first credit listed on his page? The first Crocodile Dundee, great. The second one, The third one is just awful. Anyway, here's the ending. Norma is driving Emma to town, and she tells Emma that Norma is just going through something. She asks Emma if she knows what's preoccupying Norman, and Emma says she doesn't know how long it will take Norman to get over Bradley. Emma tells Norman that Bradley is a locomotive of sexual energy, which made me laugh. That's a hilarious line, especially to tell someone's mom. Norma tries to downplay how great Bradley is, and then the two of them spy on Bradley doing yoga. Norma has some very disturbing visions of Norma and Bradley getting their freak on, and they head out. Norman is hanging a new sign at the motel and snacking when the stray dog shows back up. He tosses it some chunks of a peanut butter cookie, and Norma shows up to tell him to stay away from that dog. As they're doing dishes later, he pleads his case to keep the dog, and she caves. Then she changes gears and gives him a sexture. That's a sex lecture. He tells her he's actually into Bradley, so she says, okay. Norma tells him she hired Emma, which sends him over the edge. He storms out, and she yells and slams the door. He shows up at Bradley's house and watches her through the window before ringing the doorbell. He says they need to talk, but she doesn't really want to. Buddy can't take a hint to save his life. He says the most cringe-worthy stuff I've heard in a long time to her, and she's not into him like that. She says that she shouldn't have done it with someone like him, which cut him to the core. He walks off, and she chases after him. She hugs him and apologizes, and he leaves. Norma is working at the motel office when Jake pays her a visit. He compliments Norma's progress and improvements and offers to put out the good word to people in the area, which, like you said, Mike, that's weird. Like, people in the area know it's there. It's the people that are passing through that need to know about it. Anyway, he wants the same arrangement that he had with Keith. He wants every room the first week of every other month. He says he'll pay cash, and they want their privacy. He tells her it's nothing illegal, so she agrees to the deal. When Norman gets back to the motel, he sees his new dog. He calls for the dog, and wouldn't you know it, a car just happens to be coming at that exact moment and mows down poor Juno. He scoops the carcass up and says he's taking it to Emma's dad and yells at Norma that he's not crazy, exactly how a crazy person would. He tells Norma he was wrong, and she says she'll drive him, and the episode ends.
Yeah, just kind of a little goof at the start of this, or not start of this, but for my notes it's the start of this. But when Mr. Abernathy first comes into the motel's office to talk to Norma, she closes her laptop. The problem is it kind of alternates between being open and closed when the camera cuts back and forth. So shame on you, director C.J. Clarkson, who is known for Madam Web and the Defenders. Oh, my two least favorite Sony Marvel projects I've ever seen. Ugh. So never mind. It actually makes sense.
Well, I don't blame him for Madam Web. I blame Dakota Johnson.
What the hell are those movies?
Oh,
fucking nerds. No one saw that shit.
A positive I will say is I like how this, you guys brought it up, how it makes you feel like he's going to black out and kill Bradley when she ran out on him. You know, I'm trying not to use the verbiage with, when he turns into Psycho Norman that we know later in Psycho, because you can't have a prequel that's set in modern time to something that's set in the 50s or 60s. So, okay, I wouldn't say that, but I would say he has these psycho tendencies, and I'm glad that focused on it. I'm very glad that didn't happen, though, because I was going to lose my shit at how ridiculous that would have been to even, how you couldn't hide that shit. So I'm glad it didn't happen. But then the dog, I guess it's a little bit more believable in Final Destination when the bus fucking comes out of nowhere. But like, this is a big open ass road and you didn't see the fucking car driving. Like, so you called the dog? Like, just, I don't know. I'm glad this episode's over. I did not enjoy it at all.
God, you guys are asking for too much realism in this show. What's wrong with y'all? Television show. Not a goddamn documentary.
Yeah, but there's nothing. Anyway, there's nothing that we have to suspend our disbelief for. Like, there's no supernatural stuff. And this is supposed to be realistic. Like, it could possibly happen.
It's because you don't like documentaries. Ananyway, I don't. Just kidding.
Is it a documentary or is it fake? Which one? I can't.
It's fake. That's why it shouldn't be. Okay, you shouldn't hold it to some realistic standard. Jesus Christ, Marvel fans over here. Anyway,
okay.
Just saying. You know, I lied about Emma being a goat. She snitched right here on Norman. That was some bullshit. God damn, snitched right to Norma. That's crazy. And by the way, I love how Emma kind of lets out a, yeah, but that's crazy, huh? Yeah, that's fucking crazy. If you take her to meet Bradley, that's really fucking weird. By the way, I touched on it in the first set of scenes. This is that first glimpse of this weird sexual jealousy that we get between Norma and Norman. And it gives me the fucking creeps, man. It's so weird and uncomfortable. It's laying the groundwork. I hear what you're saying, Brian, but I would just think of this as a remake-wall then, because it is spoiler, it is leading to Psycho. That's what this is leading to. That version of Norman Bates, not the movie, but you get like a little bit in there. But I don't want to give too much away because at some point, unfortunately for you guys, I'm going to make you cover it. So, but it is laying the groundwork for the Norman Bates that we know. This dog looks like Toto, right? Like, I couldn't have been alone, and that looks like Toto from Wizard of Oz. I thought that was fun. This dog is damn near harmless, tiny ass little dog, and Norma is out here we can't take on a dog. You're not taking in a mastiff. You're taking in a little fucking ragdoll, man. Come on, who cares? Again, more awkward, weird, sexual, whatever between these two just creeps me out. I don't want to have this sex talk with Norma the way that she's gone about it with Norman really gives me the creeps. Now, personally, would I like Vera Farmiga to talk to me about sex? Of course I would, but not if she was my mom. So anyway, sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. Look, I need Norman to accept the fate that we all have, right? As men, we're 4 men on the show. Sometimes it's just a hookup, brother, and you take the L and you get sad about it for a day, and then you got to move on, man. Put a piece of bubble gum in and keep walking. You can't. Now you're out here stalking her outside her window like it's a Hawthorne Heights music video. Fucking weird. I will give, because this is a tag team match, I'm going to let Brian and Dustin work me over here till I give the hot tag to Nico. This is the one episode where I'm willing to concede some of the teen CW drama stuff not working for me. It is a little too heavy here, it's pretty much just this season that does that, but it is very heavy here, and I will give you guys that. All right, and I'm about to tag Nico back in. Fucked up line from Bradley here. That would cut any man to the core. I shouldn't have done it with someone like, God damn, that is ruthless. That has more ruthless aggression than Chris Benoit. Shout out to Chris. I will say, smart of Bradley, though. She kind of saved her own ass here, right, by running after him. I would normally tell someone to not run in the same direction as Norman Bates. What, man? My bad. I just said shout out to Chris. I mean, Dustin said he was innocent, not me. I don't know what you want me to do. Allegedly. Right. Sorry, my bad. But she saved her own ass here by actually running after him and giving him a hug. It's like it broke that dark Norman that I think we're all kind of looking for. But again, that fell flat for me because I actually would have preferred. Now, I know what happens with Bradley, so no spoilers, but I would have preferred to see Bradley get killed here by Norman because that's that dark version, that snapping version that we've already seen of Freddie Highmore, right? We've already seen him in character kill someone, his dad. So we've seen him black out. We've seen him kill someone. And so I would have liked to see it there, but that's just me. By the way, Norma is so easily duped. It always takes something bad happening for her to figure out that she's got the wool over her eyes. I mean, my man Jake fucking dupes her into, oh, yeah, it's just my business partners. Yeah, sure. Poor Juno. I never like to see a dog die on television, but that's just the way it goes. Last thing, again, this is just a glimpse of his dark side here. I just wish it was a little more of it. You could almost see that his eyes were starting to turn black, and then she gave him a hug. I just don't feel like a hug should be enough to break this psycho killer. Now, it's not forever, but for this, I'm like, I don't know. I would have rather her just snap the neck there. Let's get on with it. Let's get on to this dark murderer. But anyway, that's all I had. Tag in the Nico. Let's win this tag team match, brother.
All right. Yeah, the crowd is cheering my name. Shinsuke. I'm just kidding. All right. I laughed at Emma. She went from not wanting to talk about what's going on to spilling all the tea about Bradley. Like she was just waiting on Norma to say something. This is a minor criticism to me, but I thought the green screen effect, I didn't think it looked good at all of the two ladies driving. Like you could obviously tell the car wasn't moving. Very weird, obsessive behavior, stalking the girl Norman hooked up with once. Vera, she does such a fine job, like I mentioned earlier, of mood transitioning when she gets frustrated with Norman. I think Vera, regardless if you like the show or not, I think you got to compliment Vera's acting performance. I think she does very good. Norman seemed to have a little emphasis saying the word normal, discussing keeping the dog, and I like that. I thought that was a very, very nice touch by Freddie to emphasize the word normal. Norma doesn't really have the right to tell someone about not knowing someone good enough to be sleeping with them. I was like, I know, are you the one who said that? Remember what just happened with Zach Shelby? But anywho, love Norman's outburst hearing the Emma news. Bro was ticked. Why did you hire her here? Him arriving at Bradley's house is the opposite of the Black Eyed Peas song, I Got a Feeling Tonight's Gonna Be a Good Night. It did not go good for that young man. It went very bad for him. The man started the combo off with some trauma bonding. Let's see how this works for him. Spoiler alert, did not work for him. He straight up said, break up with your boyfriend for me. I said, hell yeah, Norman. Tell her what's up. What do you mean, Bradley, someone like you? I thought it was a beautiful shot of Norman walking away. He's fucking fuming. And the shot of him reciting his mom's words in the street I thought was fantastic. Not to be vulgar here, but this must have been some life-changing cooch for this young man. Bro is crying, walking away after a one-night stand. That was, what, a week ago at this point? Good night. This man is down abysmal right now.
She was probably his first.
My first didn't have me like.
Was your first a one-night stand that you were into and she just treated you like garbage? Come on, man. I'm going to cut him some slack on that one.
That shit was life-changing.
Yeah, I'm good.
Norma is gullible as hell. Like you mentioned, Mike, I get it. He's offering a lot of money. Your business is struggling to launch. But damn, sis, use some context clues. This guy don't look sketchy to you. He looks sketchy to everybody else. This dumbass dog runs into the road like a squirrel. I mean, do you not hear the car coming? You don't see the lights? Fucking dumbass dog. That dog went to good use at the Chin household. I'll just leave it at that. Loving the outburst of anger from Norman. I love the character development for him becoming Norman Bates. Go ahead.
Holy
yes, that was
shit.
a Chinese guy eating a dog joke. Go ahead.
So, my last thing on this episode. My closing thoughts since y'all did the notes. For all the good in episode 6, this one took a step back. We got some development, sure, like Romero having the Bates' backs and Bradley breaking Norman's heart, but overall, it's just an unremarkable episode to me. And I hated how the dog's death was shot. Like, Norman's walking towards the motel. Why wouldn't he keep walking? Like, he stopped, looked at the dog, then called for it, and then a car entered the frame. It just didn't seem natural.
Right. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm just not a huge fan of this one. I gave this episode a 5. Now, I will say, Nico, you pointed out the CG when they were driving, or the green screen when they were driving, how obviously fake that was. I mean, that's for the safety of all people involved. 2 women in a car? No.
Jesus Christ.
Brandy wasn't driving.
Brandy, shout out, Brandy.
Shout her out. Do you have any trivia, Dustin? All right, let's, here we go. Episode 8, A Boy and His Dog. We open up in Emmy's father's taxidermy shop, where Will's given Norman pointers on the art of taxidermy itself and seems happy someone else has taken notice of the work and offers for Norman to come help. We cut to school where Emma's in the bathroom and hears the Mean Girls Club talking about Norman and not having a shot with Bradley, and tells them all that he did, in fact, fuck Bradley, and I'm sure that's going to go over very well. Back at the hotel, Norma tries to call the sheriff and can't get him, while she stares out the window at Jake littering in her parking lot, throwing cigarettes down, and then staring back at her creepily. Yeah, nothing weird about that. We cut to Dylan and Remo looking over the crop, when Dylan gets a call from Gil wanting him to head down to Cali and pick up trimmers overnight. Not the movie. Back at school again, Bradley confronts Norman about telling Emma about the booty call, and Miss Watson sees and tries to approach him as he's leaving campus with tears in his eyes like a bitch. He freaks out to Watson's dismay, and we cut back to the hotel again. We are cutting like fucking crazy around here, where Norma Bates is knocking on room number 9, wanting to clean the room. Although, didn't we establish from him while he's there he wouldn't want his room cleaned when he was trying to sell his standing reservation? Maybe I misheard. But he wants it to clean now, and right now is a good time. While he sits in the cuck chair and watches, asking about the Shelby murder, and my guy needs to work on his social skills because he freaks Norma out and she dips. We cut to the sheriff's office, and Norma's sitting there trying to leverage their situation and basically blackmail Romero, and he shuts that shit down. Tells her he'd burn her to the ground, and they aren't on the same playing field, and go the fuck home. Go ahead.
Norman is a weird kid, but I respect that he just does shit without thought of being embarrassed. I don't know if I could show up to this girl's house who I've hurt emotionally and ask her dad randomly if he could taxidermy my dog. Like, what kind of psychology is this? Not sure why Emma stuck up for Norman like this in the bathroom. Does she like him that much he won't allow him to be slandered? Ride or die, like y'all have mentioned. Jake being a weirdo, staring into Norma's window. Nothing unexpected there. And whew, Bradley. She's mad that people are finding out she slept with another man while in a relationship. Norman is hitting the road, heading home, but Bradley is the one who belongs to the streets. That's a bar right there, boys. Norman said, "Screw you to the teacher. I'll leave whenever the heck I want to." Norman trying to play off the bad incident at the motel as a dog getting hit. I thought that was funny as hell. Why is Jake asking so many questions? Norman needs to be careful around this creep. I just didn't understand that. I laughed at Romero not cracking a smile at all hearing Norma's excuse to be here today. Romero is the epitome of standing on business. God damn, he is not having Norma's shit at all. And he cooked her ass in this set of scenes at the end of it. I like Romero. I like his character development. Go ahead.
Again, just starting out with shout out to the recap, a staple of weekly episodic television. By the way, we open up here and get Emma's dad, noted blues enthusiast. Love that song playing in the back. Anyway, I don't know if this is just me, but taxidermy is weird. Taxidermying your pets is fucking weird to me. No offense if it's your thing, and if you're a listener of the show, I promise I'm not trying to offend you, but I just can't wrap my mind around stuffing my pet and keeping it in my house. Like, that's odd as fuck to me. So taxidermy itself is fine. Like, I'm not going to hang a deer on my wall, but if that's your thing, that's fine. Again, Emma, ride or die. Jackie Kennedy on steroids comes out swinging for Norman Bates. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Like you said, Nico, like, I don't know if I would do this for him. Clearly, she's in love, brother. That's tough right there. This is a time in the series where we kind of start to flip Norman a little bit, where I'm not sure if I like Norman or not, right? Like he's kind of a good kid, but also says and does things without regard for others occasionally. He's also kind of annoying, whiny, a lot of things that I don't like about Norman. And I will just say, just full blank, the reason I mentioned it in my open, this side, this B plot in this episode with Dylan's job, I like the character development for Dylan, but I am not that interested in watching him go to work every day. Like, that does not grip me like the A plot of this episode. So when they start to intertwine later, it's good, but for now they're keeping them kind of separate. And as much as I like the character of Dylan, I don't want to watch him go to work every day, but that's just me. At least we know, by the way, fellas, at least we know that Norman didn't have sex with Bradley in his head only. At least we know what happened for reals, right? Like, good for him. Shout out to Norman. But it was a one-time thing, and he's not taking that so well. And I will say, this teacher about got knocked the fuck out. Like, I might want to back up off of Norman Bates. Miss Watson. I will say, where was Miss Watson when I would... Never mind. Anyway, look, man. Jake is so fucking weird, and he just gives that creep vibe so strong to me. In this room in this scene in the room, you said something, Brian. I think the reason that he let her in is because he's trying to manipulate her over and over again. So like you said, was standoffish, didn't want anybody in his room. I totally caught that as well, but now he wants her to come in. He's going to try to kind of find out more about Norma, wants to dig in there and see if he can get her on his side. Just a fucking weird guy, especially because we know he's involved with the trafficking later in the episode. The top dog, so to say. Last thing, I love Romero here. Romero becomes a great character. He's starting to be that, and he's not what? Come on, man. What that was a reach. Michael Jordan Space Jam. Come on.
No, I just saw your Riverside name. It threw me off.
Oh, sorry. Hey, man, I'm just saying. Goddamn, pal. Anyway, last thing, like I said, I love Romero here. Great character. Norma trying to use her charm and her wit and blackmail. It's not going to work now on Romero. And it's not like he even owes you anything. So I don't know what you're trying to do with the blackmail, but you're just as complicit in everything that you're trying to wrap him up in. So if he goes down, so are you. So I love he fucking takes her to the woodshed here, boys. So it's time to teach her a lesson. You can't out-boob everybody. So go ahead.
So it didn't exactly grab my attention with the open with Norman and Emma's dad, and then Emma eavesdropping in the bathroom. But I did care about the newspaper saying the bypass construction would be starting soon. And Jake, staring at the house when Norma was calling Romero, that was creepy. Remo and Dylan's dynamic, it annoyed me just as much here as it did the last time we saw them. I just hate that it seems very typical. Oh, I'm older than you and you're my boss. I'm going to hate you automatically. And it just seemed generic. I laughed at Bradley confronting Norman. Like, this girl is really more upset that he told someone than she is about being a cheating whore. Look inward.
Yep.
Look inward, lady. Jake was a total creep to Norma. No shot she should have cleaned that room with him in there. I mean, that's a risk. And then him bringing up Shelby and Keith. Yeah, get out. Just go ahead and leave. But I hate how fake tense it got with him standing over her and then grabbing the cart as she was trying to leave just to get some towels. Like that, I don't know. Either go all in or don't. I do love Norma and Romero's back and forth at the office there. She started out all flirty and friendly, and he was disinterested in that. And then she got bold. I thought that was really good stuff. So honestly, overall, it's a mixed bag of an open.
Hey, if we were going to have all this CW shit, you might as well have had Bradley's boyfriend with the one punch at the party for, you sleep with my girl?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like, let's throw in things that we've seen a million times before.
It's spoiler. Never mind.
No.
Go ahead.
Probably
Great.
will happen. There we go. Oh, God, I can't wait. Can't wait for that one. All right, we open up with Norma leaving Romero's office as she gets a call from Norman's principal wanting a conference. Back at the hotel, Remo picks up Dylan and they take off. We then cut to Emma, where Norman confronts her about running her mouth. We then cut to Norma sitting at a desk, like a student, not in a principal's office, but in Mrs. Watson's room, as they stand in the front weirdly, telling her that Norman will be suspended for leaving school. Norma then agrees to have Norman meet with a psychologist, and then we get another cut, and we're at a bar with Remo and Dylan seems overly aggressive, like asking Remo what his problem is. Remo tells him he's been there 23 damn years, and he's working for him, to which Dylan calls him a pathetic loser out of nowhere. He escalated that for no reason, and, as he should, gets punched. The two break all the tables fighting and are now best friends as we learn Remo isn't consistently reliable, nor is Gil the boss, the big boss. We also learn there's no quitting in this job, only getting fired. Back at the house, Norma tells him he can't go around being all emotional all the time. Really? Norma said that. Okay. Norma asks her to take him to Emma's dad's shop, where Norma tries to convince him not to do it, but gets put in her place very quickly by Emma's dad. Back with Remo and Dylan now, we pick up the trimmers and Dylan takes a troublemaker that Remo warns against. Back at the hotel, Norma's pulling up as Jake is pulling out, and she decides to follow him as he heads up to the dock and busts her ass. He reveals he knows everything about Shelby and Summers, and that he's on the top rung while Summers was on the bottom. She claims to not know what he's talking about and then runs away, kind of like how Cindy runs away in Scary Movie 1. If you know, you know. And the next set of scenes is the ending.
That's pretty funny. As soon as Norma gets done getting cooked by the sheriff, she's got to deal with Norman's badass behavior at school. I feel bad for this lady. She's always stressed out. Why is it every time Norman asks a question to any woman on the show, the only answer he gets is, I'm sorry? Like, have y'all noticed that, or just me? Norma, you can't be surprised that teachers are expecting your kid might need therapy. The kid's weird. And if you want to avoid this, just homeschool him or get him in virtual school. It's 2013, I think, when the show came out. There was definitely virtual school available. Dylan stays in some shit, doesn't he? I love the bar fight and the fact that the bartender, minding his own business, completely unbothered. I loved it. It's like, let him fight. I don't give a damn. There ain't no customers here. I ain't making no money. Y'all just go ahead and break everything. Fuck it. I'm going out on a limb now that Jake Abernathy is the big boss. I mean, he just gives that creepy look, and I think we all kind of probably expected that. Last thing a strange kid like Norman needs is to learn taxidermy. I mean, just look throughout history with serial killers. Messing with dead animals is not a good sign. I don't know why, but calling him an unusual boy, Norma, was funny as hell. Like, that cracked me up. Norma is flustered, and like I've mentioned several times already, I think Vera portrays it very well. Risky of Norma to follow Jake, but I can understand it. Her business's reputation is on the line. And Jake, whenever the tire screeched, like when he throws it in reverse Terry, scared the hell out of me. I wonder if that almost trip was purposeful or improvised by Norma. Like you mentioned when she was running away and she went over that little speed bump when she almost fell. I don't know if that was scripted or if it was improvised. I thought it was funny, though. Regardless, I thought it was great, and I thought the set of scenes was very good. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so I actually really like this set of scenes, too. Outside of this stuff with Dylan and his coworker in this bar, like, I don't know, it's just not gripping me. Now, again, I like the character development for Dylan And I really like the next set of scenes in that version of Dylan that we get. But anyway, poor Emma, I mean, stood up for Norman and then went and got shit on by him. Like, man, Norman doesn't deserve her, brother. And I love that I know what happens with Emma. But anyway, Miss Watson is worried about Norman. Interesting. Are you telling me this man is about to pull his third hot chick? Fuck this guy. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Anyway, it's the sweet, sensitive type they all go for. That's what that's what I'm hearing. Again, because of my lack of interest here, there's a large chunk of this set of scenes that I just don't find very compelling. Especially when like I mentioned, you directly compare it to the A plot with Norman's descent into madness. And, I like how he tells Dylan, you can't quit this job. No shit. Once you get into drug peddling, buddy, there's really only like one way out or two ways out, jail or death. That's just the way it goes. I will say, I don't, some of this I'm not like a big fan of, and I get into it in the next set of scenes, but Norman Bates at a therapist that's a little jumpy the sharky for me. I will give you the guys that one as well. It's a little, I don't know if I need to see Norman Bates at a psychiatrist's office, but that's just me. Taxidermy would be a weird hobby for a teenager. Norma has every right to be concerned about how this would hurt his image. There's no doubt about that. Jeffrey Dahmer loved that shit. So anyway, that's all. But, I thought I remembered something else happening to Emma's mom from her side of the story. So I kind of forget that she just left them. I got to check my notes on that, but I'm pretty sure I remember something else happening. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, man. I get Norma's like trying to do the right thing, her morality kicking in, but I might stay away from following this guy. You could play the ignorant game if something does happen at your place. You can't be super complicit if you're ignorant as hell, but I understand the moral thing because it is, child sex trafficking and sex trafficking in general. So, as I said last week, we're diving back into that trafficking plot, and I actually really like that. That's kind of a good through line throughout the whole series, in my opinion. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I laughed when Norman asked Emma why she told girls about him and Bradley, and she said, it just came up. Like, that was hilarious. Norma annoyed me with how she took Norman's side against the teacher and the principal, but that's what she was supposed to do. So don't take that as a knock. That's actually really well done based on what I expect from her and Norman's relationship. Shout out to George Thorogood playing in the episode. That's another positive for this one. Dylan and Remo's bar fight was well overdue, but my favorite part was, like Nico said, the bartender just watching while his bar got smashed up. I don't care. I ain't paying for it. Norma calling Emma's dad a freak to his face. That was a choice. Sure has a way with words. And then Norma following Jake kind of annoyed me. Like, if he's gone, you saw him leave, search his room. If you don't find anything suspicious, just stay away from him if he gives you the ick. Or if you do find something, kick him out. Or if you just have a bad feeling about him in general and you don't want him staying there, kick him out. It's that simple. Instead, we get this forced tension when he catches her spying on him. Like, that, it just annoyed me. I'm really not feeling this episode, and I'm ready for the end.
All right, here's the end. We open up at the psychiatrist's office where the doctor asks about his father. Norma answers all the questions for him. We then quickly cut back to the van where one of the Tremors is singing, and Remo asks him to shut the hell up. The two start going at it, and Dylan asks him to pull over, pulls a gun out, kicking out the guitar dude, and drives away. Back at Dr. Kurata's office, he asks to talk to Norma privately and suggests that Norma herself may have control issues over her son, and that went over as well as expected. Norma and Norman pull up to the motel where she gives Jack his money back and kicks him the hell out. He says, "Oh, you want to play? We'll play." Now, maybe it was more like a Razor Ramon accent. Like, "Oh, you want to play? We'll play." I don't know. Maybe. But he does leave. Back at the taxidermy place, Emma explains she was sticking up for Norman because Bradley's friends were saying Norman would never have a chance with her, and apologizes. Back at the motel now, Norma meets the Tremors and gives them all rooms at the motel. She decides to thank him, Dylan, for bringing new customers by taking him out to dinner, to which he accepts. But when she goes upstairs to change, she's horrified to see the autopsied corpse of one Zachary Shelby the First on her bed. Still dead, I think. But that's the end of this episode.
All right, I don't have a ton, but I did like this set of scenes. But starting off, insert Leonardo DiCaprio pointing meme, the Asian psychologist Hiro Kanagawa. That's the detective from Orphan First Kill, another prequel that I like. Hey, shout out to prequels. This escalated quickly, though. Dylan ain't having this hipster guitar player shit. Kicked his ass out and said, you can walk the 10 miles that Norman was supposed to a couple episodes ago. More wonderful facial acting from Vera being told, as your children get older, you need to let go a little, which is true. And there's something very unsettling about Jake. No offense to the actor. I think you say his name is Jair Burns. But he's got a distinguished look that gives that vibe, that spooky, creepy vibe. And I don't know, maybe this was just me, just the state of mind I was in, but I thought Emma's speech was very emotional. Her line of making the best of things after not going how she expected it, that hit me pretty hard, and it hit me out of nowhere. I was like, fuck, it's got a little bit of emotional right now. Love Norma's little run as she gets excited. And this is the last thing I got. Holy shit, what a reveal. I wasn't expecting Shelby's body to be in her bed. Hell of an ending, and I'm ready for 9 and 10. I think I might be one of two people only excited for 9 and 10, but go ahead.
I can see, look, like I mentioned, Norman Bates at the therapist, just Jumpy the Sharky for me. Just, again, not a huge deal, but not something I was asking for. I like how Dylan, he plays Mr. Badass here. I'm just kind of, making fun of him there, but I actually like the character development for him. He tells that bullshit, cocky ass hippie guy to get out of his fucking van with a gun. He's starting to turn the tide a little bit on who he is and who he wants to be. I will say both of these Bateses need therapy. If anybody needs therapy, it's these fucking two people. Good Lord Almighty. So this therapist trying to talk them into stay, they should have listened to his ass. Shout out to smart Asian people. But again, Norma, as always, she's a bad liar too. You can just tell when Norma lies because she does it all the time, and she has the same distinct way of saying things when she lies.
Well, she's a woman. You can tell when she's lying. Her mouth's moving.
But anywho, we still have 4 female listeners,
and they
let's
know
try
I
to
love
keep
them.
them.
I'm
okay?
kidding.
But look, again, excuse me, I'm burping on air here. Norma could have just tipped someone off instead of running after this guy and trying to handle it on her own. But no, of course not. We have to be some hero and kind of figure it out for ourselves. She, comes back and throws the money back in his face. I actually really like this scene. I think it starts to ramp up the intensity. This character of Jake becomes less creepy and more evil. He's a fucking bastard, and we're about to find out just how bastardly. But I agree with you, Nico. This speech from Emma was great. I thought it was great delivery, awesome stuff. But you know what? Norman's a dummy. Okay. Dylan agreeing to have dinner with Norma. Ooh, run away, Dylan. You don't want to be caught in this woman's net. Last thing, great closing shot of Shelby on the bed. I thought that was awesome. Great cliffhanger to leave that on. Really good closing set of scenes, in my opinion.
So I was glad to see Norman talking to his shrink. He should have been there long ago. But I was annoyed with the scene, not because Norma kept answering for Norman, because that was expected, but because the doctor didn't tell her to shut up and let Norman talk. Then I was glad to see Dylan step up and take Remo's side against the douchebag, showing some bonding there, and that guy sucks, so yeah, get him out. But then we cut back to the therapy session, and after it's over, I was relieved finally to see the doctor tell Norma to butt out. And it went exactly how I expected. Her feelings of being in control were on display again when she freaked out on Jake. She's a wreck emotionally. Emma pouring out her heart to Norman. Some say it was touching. I think it was pathetic. Grow up. But also, Norman, if you don't date that girl, she is a ride or die. Unfortunately, it does seem that die is a much more likely scenario, but still.
Oh, my God.
Enjoy the time you have together.
I mean, hey.
Am I wrong?
It's no different than Jack and Rose. When Jack is in the water, he realizes, oh, we got a little bit of time here. Might as well hang out with Rose, let her live. I'm going to die, so might as well enjoy the last few minutes cold as shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay.
I laughed at how Norma reacted to Dylan showing up with a van full of vagrants needing rooms. She didn't care at all who they were, what kind of work they'd be doing, or what happened to Dylan's face. She just saw dollar signs, and all of a sudden she wanted to be a happy family with the son that she hates. That was funny. Shelby's corpse showing up in her bed at the bus or at the end. That was the first thing I truly liked about the episode. Looks like Jake went and hired the Corleone family to put a dead thing in the body in the bed. It's a great way to show that she has no idea who she's dealing with, and it's a great tense moment to end on. But unfortunately for me, it's just a little too late. Too little too late for me to like this episode. I gave it a 4.5. All these side quests and stories they don't interest me in the slightest.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
What? What I do?
What's wrong with you guys? We want, you know what? You just go to IMDb and everywhere else. Me and Nico won this tag match.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking what like.
He's talking about what he said.
I don't.
I thought what he said was factually correct.
It is. And so 2 things here. Number 1, nothing's wrong with me. I said what I said. And number 2, I don't care who agrees and disagrees. Those are my opinions, baby. This show sucks.
I'm just saying when IMDb's right.
Oh, God.
Bates Motel or our show? Which one are you talking about? Both right now?
No. Bates Motel.
All right, I've got 2 fun facts here. Dharma beer bottles were seen in the bar scene. That was an Easter egg for Lost. J.J. Abrams thing, right? We're about to do one of his movies in just a minute. Ian Hart and Freddie Highmore previously worked together on Finding Neverland. Hart played Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Highmore played Peter Davies, who in the film was the inspiration for Peter Pan.
Oh, Lord. I haven't laughed that hard in a good minute. Appreciate that laugh, Dustin. Any final thoughts, guys, on these 2 episodes? This has been a hell of an episode. Wow. I enjoyed both episodes.
I'm sorry. That's my final thoughts.
I'd like to take this moment to apologize.
I'm sorry.
To absolutely no one. The double check does what he wants.
Hey, essay, when I said I was sorry, I lied. Shout out to Eddie Guerrero, baby.
Speaking of RIP. But anywho, final thoughts for real, guys. I'm excited to conclude this first season of Bates Motel next week. I'm flustered right now.
I'm very excited to end the show.
So ready.
Mike, I'm sorry, man. Your first series pick is just getting like shit upon. But hey, man,
I know that me and Nick are on the right side of history. Critically acclaimed, fan love.
It's fan love.
Need everything to be realistic or psycho based. Well, I don't know what's going on with these 2.
Sounds just like me when I was talking about Cloverfield. Man, imagine
you're
that.
on your own now.
Look who's on.
But
you're on your own with that. I have a tag team partner.
Way to alienate your tag team partner here.
Appreciate y'all listening. We'll be back next week. Next week's gonna be must see TV.
Fast X, I thought.
Fast X.
Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you next week. And in the meantime, take care of yourself.
Just want to remind everybody.